So always liked drawing, like a lot of other people, but was also found of video games. And one time I had this, there was this thing. I had this game, and the CD key for the game didn't work. The game was Guild Wars, and the CD key didn't work. So for 3 months, we just called the game like player support service, and we couldn't get into the game. But I had this art book, but it was shipped with the game box. It was like, and it had all the concept art from Daniel Dotsu, Kike Kotaki, and Jamie Jones. There was a great inspiration. I was already drawing fan art before even I could get into the game. And then I finally got into the game and I was blown away, of course. So as far as my education goes, I actually really had a really bad time in school in general. It was kind of terrible. But I had this, in high school was much better already. I did a kind of like 3-year industrial high school. So it was like kind of like a lightweight industrial design program. And then the school that I wanted to go to kind of like started like crumbling apart, like with leadership and stuff. So I was like, oh, I cannot go to this school. And so my plans really didn't go as expected for education. Then my mom was like, oh, I gotta find you a school. You cannot do like only self-training next year. I really wanted to do self-training. She was like, I gotta find you a school. And then she found me a school, and it was like the worst year of my life, this school. But yeah, and since the first week, I was like, oh, I'm gonna quit, and I finished the year and quit the school, and I was like, oh, what am I gonna do now? And I still really had this idea of going into self-training, like online, with like actually normal DVDs, and kind of like this Gumroad thing was just starting out. There was also Schoolism, which is really cool, and I was getting a lot of good training from that, and also from books. And I was like, oh, I feel like I can do it, and so I wanted to go with like the self-training route, and that's when I got the call from my first like company, who hired me for a project. So yeah, like kind of like moment of doubt. Well, for me it was like every single month, like every 3 months, I was like sitting on my couch like, hey, maybe I should quit, you know. And usually what I did to kind of like mitigate that is just email or send a message on Facebook to a professional in the field, and just ask like 10,000 questions, and then I got 20 answers, and that was enough to get me going. So I think showing your artworks is really important. Showing it to professionals, but showing to the right people, that's kind of hard, because when you're a beginner, you don't have the skills to recognize who is good or who is not. And there's also people who have really good art but are bad at giving advice, or the other way. So it's kind of tricky to find a good mentor or find good people to review your work. Usually if you have somebody, the idea is that if you show your work to somebody, and after talking to them, you feel empowered, you're really energized, and you're like, yeah, let's do it. And then that's the right person to show you the work to. So I think the challenge for the younger artists who are trying to get in the industry is that there is an increased visibility of your art, but because of that, there is also an increase in competition. So it's going to be harder and harder to be exceptional. If I had like one piece of advice to get noticed, is that try to get as good as possible and post it online, but don't worry about anything after posting it. Worry only about the getting good part. You will get noticed, you will get hired. That's the thing. Like, if you focus only on the getting hired, on the getting better part. So community, I think, is super important for the artists. For example, I was at Trojan Horse was a Unicorn 2 times. It's a festival for artists gathering in Portugal, and the people that I met there, and it's also kind of the same people who I met online, but meeting them, in real life, had like kind of more connection to them. But the thing is, these guys are my friend, my coworker, my art directors, like, and I just hang out with them, and it's like kind of like a network of people that give me information about the industry, about what's going on, like who is hiring, why, and like who needs help. And also one of the big kind of like change of paradigm for me was when I was at THU, and basically one of my I was doing a mentorship thing, and the mentor just saw my portfolio and asked me if I wanted him to introduce me to some like VFX company, and I said yeah for sure, like really into that. Yeah, there was this new site and it looked great. I didn't want to spend time making a website myself or stuff, and I just dropped my images in there, and it's kind of like a portfolio. So what happened is after ArtStation launched and I put a couple artworks in there, I started getting my first freelance gigs, which were international. So it was my first jobs kind of overseas, working for some companies in Los Angeles. And it was really like interesting to get like offers from ArtStation. I really didn't expect it. It became like my main hub for like getting hired. I didn't even have to reach to companies. It just like the companies came, and it was really cool like to be able to kind of like even like pick the project at a certain point.